You can't replace part of the brain. Like, you
treat them the same.
A source of truth for the medtech industry.
Coexists with the province.
Robot understands things automatically.
Number one show in the medtech industry.
So Stryker got ahead of that and changed in the 90s, built $1 billion company that held up high. A lot of things.
State of MedTech with your host, Omar and Khateeb.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to MedTech Growth Levers. I'm your host, Omar Khateeb. And today we're going to cover a really interesting topic, one that's important because it's the end of year, which is OKRs. And I got some sunscreen going on here. I just noticed that. You got to love live video. So we're covering OKRs for a couple reasons. For those of you who don't know, those are objective key results. It came out of Silicon Valley. Many of your companies are probably running on them. I would say a lot of KPIs are being replaced with this concept of OKRs. But I want to cover first, what are they? So you understand it as a marketing team, because a lot of people are actually using them, but they haven't actually formally been introduced to understand the overall concept. They just kind of fall through what their company asks them to do. So I want to cover that first. And secondly, more importantly, what you should not do. Because I think a lot of times when people go through OKRs, they make a lot of mistakes. And they don't fully optimize it in terms of what's going to be best for them. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. And of course, we are live on LinkedIn. So let me shout out to the people there. So we see a lot of people there. Thanks for the emojis. Go ahead and comment what city you're joining from. All right, so let's jump right into it. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, here we go. Let's dive right into it. Okay, so, and then let me get you guys over on LinkedIn. Perfect. So let's go through first of all, what are OKRs, why are they important, how you need to think about it, okay? So the way I always like to describe an OKR is essentially, it's like climbing a mountain as a team. And so you have to have some parameters set up in terms of, A, what does the top of the mountain look like, and how are you going to get there, okay? For those of you who don't know, so OKR stands for objectives and key results. It's a way essentially to stay focused and work towards important objectives. Very important to understand that the objective is something that's supposed to be inspirational, so describing an event at a specific point in the future. And I'm going to get to this in a moment. Understanding these basics is essentially where a lot of companies and teams screw up, okay? The key result is a measure that defines whether progress has been made towards that objective, okay? So objectives, it's where you want to go. The key results is how you're going to get there, okay? Now, I'm going to start using an example from this book. And actually, I have a couple of books for you guys. So OKRs actually came from this book called Measure What Matters by John Doerr, who is an investor and VC out in Silicon Valley. The one that I think does the best, really good job of explaining OKRs, which you can pass out to leadership, is Radical Focus by Christina Watkey. John Doerr's book is good, but it's over 200 pages long. Christina Watkey's book is 140 pages. It's a lot easier for people to study. So we have Hannah and Jack. They're both founders, okay? And so one day, Hannah and Jack started to talk and say, hey, what do we got to do this quarter to be successful? Oh, we got to hire a sales guy. We got to change the website. We got to hire a sales team. And of course, they had this mentor came along and said, look, let me tell you a story. Back in the day, there was this company called HP that used to make microchips. And one day, Andy Grove was looking out the window at a Ferris wheel over a great American amusement park. And then he turned back to Gordon within HP and says, hey, if we got kicked out and the board brought a new CEO, what do you think he would do, right? And Gordon answered, without hesitation, we would get out of memories, okay? And this was a huge moment for HP when they got out of memories, because that was essentially their whole business, okay? Now, they used the concept of OKRs in a different way. The OKRs really gets tracked back to another book recommendation, High Output Management by Andy Grove, who is the chairman and CEO of Intel. Okay, and by the way, I made a mistake, not HP, that's Intel. I always get the two confused. And that's kind of their guiding light. So you can use this to create transformational change within your organization or within a startup, okay? So again, I'm going to hit on this point multiple times. OKRs, O is the objective. That's the dream. The KR is the success criteria. Okay. Objectives are supposed to be qualitative. This is the mistake that a lot of companies make, is because, especially marketers, they because marketing has always been looked at as like, sort of an art. And now with digital marketing, we have metrics and data and everything. A lot of times when marketing defines their OKRs, they go with the objective being a quantitative thing, like get this many leads, etc. And that's not what you're supposed to do. The O is supposed to be a qualitative thing that shoots like it's a dream outcome. Okay?
Quick commercial break for marketing leaders and sales leaders. I don't have to tell you this, but it's worth reiterating that the time clinicians have to meet with medical reps is limited. You know this and feel this. It's been a challenge for med device sellers for decades. Now, with the rising workloads and patient care demands, clinicians' times are shrinking even more. And the window for your sellers and your sales team to meet with these clinicians consists of pretty much just minutes in a busy hospital hallway. The reality is your sellers have to make every second count or someone else will. They must be concise, they got to be efficient, and use highly relevant information to make the most out of these brief interactions. Showpad is all about focusing your sellers on the art of selling, which is about building trust and relationships. And while there's science, the Showpad solution handles the behind-the-scenes prep and follow-up work to make your team more effective. The best part is that you get insights on content and training performance so you can make strategic decisions and invest more in what works based on data. Showpad helps your sales and marketing teams spend their time in more productive, high-impact ways with a multiplying effect on your revenue results and growing your pipeline. So to learn more, go to showpad.com/State of MedTech. Now, let's get back to the show.
So going back to Hannah and Jack, their thing, their objective was establish an epic value to Northern California restaurant suppliers as the best tea provider. They want to be the number one best tea provider. Okay, so that's a good dream outcome. Okay, now to get there, you got to think about the quantitative, which is the key results. So how do you know you've actually met that objective? Okay, so keep in mind the O in the OKRs, the objective, is something that's qualitative. It's a dream outcome. It's like, oh, this is what I want to be. I want to be the number one this. We want to have the majority of market share, etc. So how do you measure if you were actually successful or not? Okay. So, of course, Jack starts saying, hey, let's key result, hire a sales guy. Key result, redo your website. Key result, place ads on the restaurant supply magazine. This seems fine. But again, their mentor said, hey, like those aren't tasks. They're not results. So again, when you go back, Jack decides to say, hey, okay, key result is let's get reorders at 85%. Another key result is 20% of reorders should be self-service, and then a revenue of $250K. Okay. So that's how you need to think about it. So when it comes to OKRs, I always recommend for a quarter, in my personal opinion, is one objective, which is going to unite your efforts, and then 3 key results per team. And the reason why is that it's just hard to have more than one objective. And this is where a lot of companies, they fail. I know of a lot of startups and companies who failed because of a lack of focus. I don't know too many startups that failed because they were too focused. Okay. We got some stragglers on, there we go. All right. So the key results are going to define your success. Now, the other thing that I want you to keep in mind is bringing in your mission and vision. And this is going to be one of the more important things of the OKR process. Again, just to define so people are all on the same page, a vision is essentially what describes your company's aspirations, what you want to achieve upon getting your mission. The mission is more action-oriented, an action-oriented vision statement to declare the purpose of your organization to its audience. So again, if you think about mission versus vision statement, vision is technically the objective. Mission are kind of like the key results. That's how you can think about it on a broader context for your company. And when you break it down, okay, this is kind of what it looks like, right? You're gonna have individual OKRs that map to a team OKR, that map to a company OKR, and then the company as a whole, I think, should have no more than 3 OKRs as a whole. Okay, and then you can break it down from there. That's how like each team has certain objectives, but it all has to move towards what the mission's going to be like in practice, and more importantly, your vision. Now, a long time ago, I actually interviewed a guy named Sean Ellis. He was one of the fathers of growth hacking. He wrote the book Hacking Growth. He was the growth hacker over at Dropbox and a lot of other places. And he told me about this concept about a North Star metric. North Star metric is a single metric that best captures the core value that your product delivers to customers. It optimizes your efforts to grow this metric as a key to driving sustainable growth across your full customer base. Okay. So this graphic here will kind of show you an actionable North Star metric. If you start at the very bottom, you identify the right metric. So that way you agree as a marketing team on the core metric that best captures the core value of your product to deliver to its customers. From there, you evangelize this across organizations. So you use growth discussions and company communications to inspire individuals to consider their contributions towards this metric. You integrate it into testing and learning processes. So that way you build metric into processes via growth meetings, experiments, so on and so forth. And finally, you build this into your national sales meeting, your culture. So that way it grows as an integral part of the company's lexicon, and this is internalized by individuals and team. The key to this, and again, my belief is that this is something that the marketing team really drives because marketing touches all departments in our industry. This is extremely important. And I think it makes things a lot easier. So before you do your OKRs, I think what you need to start thinking about is, okay, what's the true mission of the company? What's the vision? And when you have that discussion, what's the actual, the actionable North Star metric you want to go with? Okay. And so that's going to be really important because then that North Star metric is essentially what unites all of those OKRs. So that way it moves you or puts you into motion with your mission that helps you achieve your vision, that is. Okay. So I'm going to repeat that again. Once you figure out your North Star metric, that North Star metric is technically the bridge between the OKRs below you, right? And then the mission of what you do on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis. And if you do that mission over and over and over again, that hits your vision. So let's look at some examples of that. So HubSpot, their North Star metric was increasing the number of weekly active teams. Okay. That was their North Star metric. With Slack, their North Star metric was increasing the number of messages sent within an organization. That was like the one most important thing. All right, let's look at a couple others. Zoom's North Star metric was increasing the number of weekly hosted meetings. Okay. So again, now the reason why this North Star metric is important is because it technically allows you to take that vision that you have and mission and say, okay, this is like the one number that if it goes up every quarter, we know that we're on track to accomplish our vision. And of course, all good things happen as a result of that, So that, my friends, is the OKR process. And one other thing I'll show you, it doesn't matter what you guys use. A long time ago, I, made this one dashboard, which is an OKR tracker, right? And the progress towards it. And by the way, when it comes to OKR, something that I forgot to mention is that your goals or your objectives should be somewhere between 60 to 70% complete. If it's over 70%, let's say it's 80 to 90% or 100, then technically you didn't pick OKRs that were challenging enough for you. And at the same time, you don't want it to be below 60% because if it's below 60%, then it was just too challenging. I think actually I'm going to rephrase that. I think the number is somewhere around 70-ish%, 70 to 80%. So you guys get the point. So you have to constantly look at this. And what I would recommend is have one centralized dashboard. You can use an Excel spreadsheet. You can use a Notion board. But this is something that the whole company should see because then anybody can go in and take a look at this area where, again, you have your company OKRs. And again, I always put 3. And then for each team has like their own OKRs they can hit, but everybody can see this. Okay. And the key is that the whole company is able to view this. And, that way it's more of a team effort. So that way when you accomplish them, it's not just like, oh, our team hit our OKRs and sales did not. It's a company-wide activity. And something that I'll say, let me just come back here for a second. that you have to keep in mind is when it comes to OKRs, this is not something that you're going to figure out in a quarter or two. This is like an ongoing process. It sometimes takes a couple years to really get it down well, but you have to start somewhere. So that's the lessons for today. We're not going to do Q&A. We're going to cut it straight there, but I hope this is helpful. Again, in terms of the books that I recommend, for those of you who want to learn, if you own OKRs in your company and you're like the OKR, czar, get Measure What Matters by John Doerr. If you're CEO or founder and you're like, hey, I need my management team to understand OKRs, get the book Radical Focus by Christine Watke. And then for those product leaders, especially, one of my two favorite books on that. So OKRs kind of came from this legendary book, High Output Management by Andy Grove from Intel. And then another one, shout out to Jeff Alvarez, is this book by Eliyahu Goldratt called The Goal, which is essentially the whole idea of like, how do you make constraints a tool of success for you? So with that being said, I hope this has been helpful. Be sure to check the link below and register for our next MGL Zoom, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks for checking out this episode. If you want to do me a big favor and join so many other people who have helped grow this podcast, take a second and look below. If you're on Apple, give us 5 stars and write a short review. If you're on Spotify, just give us 5 stars. And if you're on YouTube, hit the like button. And most importantly, if you can, subscribe. We release so many different episodes that you may miss. Be sure to subscribe and turn your notifications on. You get extra points with me if you subscribe across all 3 channels. Thank you so much. And if you felt like this episode helped you, send this to somebody who'd really enjoy and appreciate it. Share and spread the love. We'll see you all next time.